About a month ago, I created my own speedrun category in Schedule 1 where you knock everyone out in one run, and recently I've been revisiting that after finding a website showing everyone in the game, and I kinda got a bit addicted to the run. If you saw the original video, you will know that anything locked behind levels wasn't required, but now I've used so many glitches in this run that it's now just nullified. But anyways, without further ado, here is the explanation of the whole run and how I cut down the 30-minute time I had previously. Like the rest of the run, the start of it has changed a ton. As the only baseball bat near is on the other side of the map, I wanted to find a way to get there a bit quicker. The way I'm going to do this is by performing a wrong warp. To explain how the wrong warp works, I need to explain the I'm stuck button and launching and how I can use them. For launching, when you spam the spacebar on top of an object tall enough to cause you to gain no height, the game will use that momentum until you either run out of time or get flung into the air when you leave the cover. For me to leave said cover, I need to exit the RV without decreasing my height because the door for the RV is much lower than my current position. To do this, the I'm stuck button works perfectly. Fundamentally, the I'm stuck button is used to get out of any place you can get, stuck, and in Schedule 1 this is done by teleporting you to a predetermined location depending on where you are on the map. Normally for me this would be just in front of the RV door, or maybe in some cases on the main road. To wrong warp, I need to go to a completely different location, and luckily there seems to be a default location you can get teleported to if you go outside of every area. So to do this, we're combining the launching with the I'm stuck button so I can get launched out of every single area and end up teleporting to where I want to be, which is the canal. Although it may not seem like it, using I'm stuck to move to the canal is quite precise for this run, because if I go too low I teleport to a completely different location. A lot of the upcoming glitches require a skateboard, so I went to the ATM to get enough money out as it's quicker than picking the dead drops up, and then I rush over to Northtown as my plan is to wipe out that whole area as it's much further away than the other ones. I also use my fist to knock out someone on the way as it's way quicker than running back with a bat. One small difference that I did implement is making it so that I don't wind up the baseball bat, because if you do, they might get knocked over, and it's way better if people stand still when you're hitting them so that you don't miss anything. Not winding up the baseball bat is incredibly key for Jeff, because all I want to do is get on the counter and knock him out instead of having to go right inside. All but one person that is staying at the motel is there at the moment, so all I do is knock out number 5 and number 2, because Peter and the motel manager both walk out at the same time, so I can just knock them out on the way to my next location. One of the most important parts of this route is clearing out areas that would cause me a giant diversion, and one person that has caused me problems in the past is Trent. Thankfully, he is somehow in line with my route, causing no major issues at all. Another person that's of issue is Kathy, who's killed a couple runs before, but thankfully she's in this building and is normally with Austin, but around a quarter of the time, including this run, Austin isn't there and causes a small diversion later on. Like the original run, a really important part of this new route is knocking out the police, which is the biggest run killer I've had. As there are 10 of the policemen, it's normally split up into 4 here and then 6 later on. A big thing with the police is that they always get stunned when you hit them, which also resets the cuffing bar, which is really good for this run. Next, I need to head down to the downtown area, as that's where so many people are and where I save a lot of time by knocking people out instead of going to the doors, which would cause quite a big diversion. While heading to the downtown area, there are a couple people I need to knock out, namely Sam Thompson, who appears while I'm at the gas mart, Carl and the chef, who both would require diversions, and Greg, who wanders around a lot in curfew. While I could include these two shops later on in the route, a singular NPC in the second shop disappears if you leave it too long, and they don't own a house in the entire game. As this next part is the majority of the run, here's everyone I have to kill and why. There's Elizabeth, who doesn't have a house, Kevin, who would require a diversion later on, Lily and Eugene, who also have no house, Jackie and Dennis, who are just there and would make sense to knock out, Tobus, who would normally lose me time if I left him later, Jen, who has no house as well, Beth, who is the last from the motel, the last 6 policemen who have lost me way too many runs, and then we have Hank, Ray, Herbert, Way, and Jeremy, who is followed by one of the most annoying NPCs as Javier spawns in around 2 PM out of nowhere, and finally Marco, Meg, and Carl being one that will lose me time as he's only at his house in the morning. Here I want to introduce the next glitch, which I called the garbage zip, where basically when you get on the skateboard just before you open a garbage lid, you get flung into the air. I don't really know why. My best guess is because when you get on a skateboard, you move up a bit, and then the garbage can flings you with the velocity it has, and then that just throws you in the air. The distance can change quite a bit, which you'll see a bit later, but back to the run. So we perform the garbage zip to get closer to the warehouse, which is our next location, and as I said, the garbage zip can be variable in size, just depending on how you do it. Normally, to glitch into the warehouse, you'd get on a skateboard and spam E to open the door, but I just find that quite difficult. So instead, I'm going to use the garbage lids to essentially push me through the wall, because when I get on my skateboard and open the garbage lid, both of those colliders are inside of each other and they need to be pushed out, and I could be either pushed out back onto the normal garbage lid or inside the wall. Again, we're pushing ourselves essentially through the wall using the garbage lid and the skateboard, but it's much harder than it should be because behind the wall is a shelf that we also need to make sure we can go through. Nice. The next place I want to go is back over to Westville using the garbage zip because of the nighttime gas mart worker and also Austin. This isn't a huge time loss because at this point I'm mostly just buying my time until the curfew starts, but it is a bit of a diversion. The next place we're going to is a casino as it opens up later than any other place, and here we're just going to knock out a few more people so that I don't need to go to any more diversions. Normally at this point I lose time from waiting for Tobus, but I could just move on to spamming space to somehow get on his roof and then jumping over to the mayor's house and then knocking out the last people in the area. One of the last places to go is Suburbia, and I'm going to start past the last house because there are some secret NPCs that I can knock out. To finish off the run, I need to knock Jane out and the rest of the people at the docks, and then that is time. The run ended up being just over 16 minutes long, which compared to last video is actually insane. The most optimizations I can think of is anything with the garbage lids or just overall movement, but unless anything big is found by me or anyone else that wants to try this challenge, this is the last one I'm going to be doing. But anyways, thank you for watching this video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.